Hey there. Let's continue with the same chapter, resource and development. And our new topic is development of resource. So before going to properly on this topic, let's discuss about the way which comes on its path, all the things which comes on its path. Like, you know, we all know that resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. If I'll ask you today, can you survive with water, without air, without garment, without things which you carry, school, transport, right? So actually, we just cannot think of our life today without all these resources which are facilitating our life, making our life easy, right? So ultimately we have to understand these are, earlier we used to think that these are free gift of nature, and by now we all know the way we have polluted our air, the way we have polluted our rivers, water, everything, even land, soil, everything, right? And now, why does this problem occurs? you know why this has happened to us? Because when we take the things for granted that this is like this only, then this there creates a one or the other kind of problem. Like, we should not take anything for granted. Everything has its own capacity, right? So we human beings started indiscriminate use of resources. We started using it in such a huge amount, without taking care of environment, without taking care of its replenishment, right? And ultimately it leads to various problems, one after the other. Let's discuss all these problems. What are those problems which we created because of the indiscriminate use of resources? The first one is depletion of resource for satisfying the greed of a few people. See, depletion of resources, we are consuming, the rate by which we are consuming fossil fuel. Try to understand, this is one example, right? The rate at which we are consuming fossil fuel, we all know that fossil fuel takes a long geological period, right? Maybe millions of year or maybe billions of year, right? To be made itself naturally, right? So the rate by which we are consuming it, it's very difficult to renew with that same rate. Till now we have not yet discovered any new thing, any new technology properly by which we can replace this resource, right? Our no vehicle, no industry can run without fossil fuels, we all know that. So the resource, these resources are getting depleted, right? They are getting removed from this earth by few greedy people, or you can say industrialists, or you can say the countries which has maturity of manufacturing sector. They are the one, the western world, they are the one who are consuming huge amount of fossil fuel, right? All the industrialized countries including China, right? They are using a huge amount of resources. Again, I can give you one example here. Alone, USA is a single country, alone USA consumes a amount of energy. If everybody, every country on the earth start consuming the same amount of resource, we need around 5 earth like planet to fulfill this requirement of every people or every country on this earth. So think of the how people make use of, and the way they are degrading our environment, they are depleting our resources, right? Second point, we have accumulation of resources in few hands. We all know the society is divided into haves or have nots, rich or poor. So if we compare a rich person, so you will see his or her house will be fully centralized AC. So it means the consumption of fossil fuel is more in the families who are rich than the one who are living in a slum. Because the people who are living in a slum, what they are making use of, how much energy they are consuming at the max? One fan, one bulb, and one TV. Can they consume anything more than this? Can they make use of any other resources, electrical appliances than this? So you just compare the poor and rich. How much poor is utilizing and how much rich is utilizing. So obviously, any kind of resource is more utilized by the society which is richer, and very small amount of resource is utilized by poor people, right? The one who is economically backward. Majority of resources are accumulated in the hands of few people. If I'll say that, if I should not name these industrialists, but can you imagine the amount of resource in the hands of owner of Reliance, Tata, Birlas, Elon Musk, Amazon, Google? And you just think of these MNCs, their earning is more than what our total income of our country is. So think of that, how much resource is being owned by individual people or the group of people, and what is owned by rest all member of society. So obviously, the one who is having more accumulation of resources, they are consuming more fossil fuel and any other kind of resources than the poor one. Now let's see this here. Indiscriminate use, exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crisis. Yes, you might have heard in recent past when the king of Bhutan, when he talked about being carbon negative. If you have not seen his TED talks, please go and watch his TED talk, where he claimed that his country is carbon negative nation. But he's worried about, why he's worried about, because he's trapped between India and China. The industrial pollution which is created by China, and then after that India is melting the snow caps of Bhutan, which is a water source over there. And if the speed with which the water is melting in Bhutan, if it continues, slowly and steadily they will lose all their water resources. And they are begging for that the country, not only that, even Maldives is begging from rest all world to reduce carbon emission and to reduce global warming. So global warming, because of the global warming, the water level is increasing, snow caps are melting, and the island like Maldives will disappear. We have ozone layers depletion, which is creating so many problem on the earth, especially the skin cancer and this kind of issues, right? So that can be controlled, and it got little bit controlled during the pandemic time, when there was a lockdown across earth, and slowly and steadily ozone layer healed itself. So we have to just give a time, all these resources to get renewed, to heal itself. We can reduce the pollution, we can find out the better means of energy than using too much of fossil fuel, right? In this way we can maintain ecological balance, we can create a greenery, we can encourage many people in the remote corners of India, where they can cover the landscape in their areas in greenery, right? An equitable distribution of resource has become essential for a sustained quality of life and global peace. Right. Again, this is something very paradox, if I can say, because equitable distribution in reality is next to impossible. But yes, if we want a sustainable quality of life, if we want a peace in society, then at least everybody should not be millionaire. Then there should be a proper, everybody should have the basic need, right? Like we have in Rio de Janeiro, not Rio de Janeiro, that Costa Rica. If you can see the Costa Rica, that education, drinking water, sanitation, and house, right? These are all in the hands of government, and that is being provided by a government to their people. So this basic need to be fulfilled of everyone. I'm not telling everyone to be like a Dhirubhai Ambani or Mukesh Ambani. No, but basic requirement of people need to be fulfilled, and that is a basic duty of every government across earth, whatsoever country is, right? Because humans are very important resource. Developing human, giving them proper health, education, that is a responsibility of government. Now after that, leave that resource to develop themselves, right? And if we provide this much things to everybody on the earth, obviously the conflict which is coming between haves or have not, that can easily easily disappear from earth, you know. That will reduce, because the platform, basic platform, has been given to everyone. The problem which is coming between haves or have not is that have has abundance of resources and have not doesn't have anything. Even the many people sleep on the footpaths, we have seen across country, and they were crushed by a people who comes from a party. That is also known. That is done by one of your celebrity whose movie is much liked by you all. You framed that person like a hero, and he was not having any control over his driving when he crushed so many people on footpath. So this is the difference between a poor and a rich, right? If that poor would have been given a housing facilities, right, they might have not been sleeping over there. But this has happened. The future of our planet is in danger. If we continue to deplete the resources like this, obviously the future will be very dark. If you don't have a resource, how can you think of living life in such a progressive manner the way you are today? You know, life is not possible without these resources, and if they will get vanished from earth, what are we going to do? We are going to live a life like a early man. At least early man had a greenery, forest, water, clean. We don't have that, so our survival will be very difficult. Therefore resource planning is for by when we went through all these when we go through all these topics, we get to know that resource planning is very important, right? And that's why we are going to discuss every component of sustainable development. Now what is sustainable development? See, if you grow, you are doing a economic development, you are doing your economic growth, right? But while doing that, you are using a resource, so use it in such a careful manner that you are not hampering your economic growth, plus you are allowing that resource to get developed. And third, you should be leaving some of that resource for your next generation also. We cannot say them, no, ki because we have consumed all coal and all fossil fuel, so you make use of bullock cart. No, we cannot, because the our kids are going to blame us later. So not only that, we need a proper future for them. So we cannot say that as we have developed a lot, there is no fossil or no fuel is left for you. Now you decide how you have to live your life. No, that is not a way. We do not compromise with our economic development, but along with it we have to give a chance to that resource to we have to give that chance to that particular resource to get developed also, and we have to share or leave some amount of resource to the future generation also. Now in 1992, when all great personality of earth, especially 100 people, 100 representative or heads of different countries, when they realized that there is a problem with the ecological balance, there is a that we are not heading towards the sustainable development, and we need to take care of all the global issues which we have already discussed, like depletion of ozone, pollution of water, air, soil, right? A removal of greenery, ecological imbalance, a removal of or depletion of certain species from the earth, all kind of flora and fauna both, right? Then they got to know, oh, we need, because we need to survive this, we need to protect our environment, and then only socio-economic development can take place at global level, right? And they assembled, they discussed about the climate change, they discussed about the biodiversity, and they endorsed the global forest principle and adopted agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in 21st century. Now let's see how they have done that. Now agenda 21, you know, that was declaration signed in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environmental Development, UNCED, which took place in Rio, we all know. It aims at achieving global sustainable development, right? How to get that? How to combat with the environmental damage? How to combat with the poverty? How to control disease through global cooperation, right? How can we come in come near each other with a mutual needs and share responsibility? This we can understand with the help of example, like whosoever claims that the India's contribution in UN in terms of economic responsibility is very meager, then let me tell you one thing: the amount of we have spent on developing COVID vaccine, and free of cost we have provided that vaccine to Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and so many other countries. That was a common interest, mutual needs. We shared our responsibility that we are the maximum or highest supplier of all sort of vaccine which is available on earth for all, almost all the diseases, and we are providing this to the countries who are our neighbors, who are poor, and who needs our support. That is global cooperation, that is global interest, that is mutual need, shared responsibility. Whenever there is something goes wrong in recent past, whenever there is any disaster, you know, now India claims itself is a self reliant, self sufficient. When we don't ask for any kind of help in any disaster management, we are managing our own. But whenever there is a need in other countries, especially the neighboring countries, we are supplying all short, all type of help. Recently we have provided the people of Afghanistan with the wheat supply, sorry, right? So that is our mutual understanding we are doing for the people of Afghanistan who are dying because of hunger. We helped Nepal at the time of earthquake. We are similarly providing every type of help which we can do to our neighboring countries, right? We are trying everything, like there is one term, poverty, how to combat poverty. You might have seen in last 2 years, due to COVID, due to the economically whatever has happened to all the nations across earth, India doesn't have that big GDP. But what we have done, we have provided free food supply to every people who is below poverty line and those who are poor. So they have been given with the food. Nobody died because of the hunger. We died because of COVID, that we all know. But we didn't die because of the hunger. And that is something which is very remarkable thing which we have done. So this is agenda 21. Disease. Almost every people in India has been given a COVID vaccine free of cost. So who is bearing that cost? The country who is not earning anything, has not earned anything in last 2 years. Our GDP has gone in negative, and then also the government has taken step to eradicate COVID, and by providing a free vaccination, whether it is rich or poor, everybody has received. We are trying to encounter environmental damage also. We, as an individual also, so many people in our society, they are picking up some land, government land, and covering it in a greenery. I have seen yesterday one video of Malwa, where the one teacher, a tutor, whose income is very means how he is fulfilling his requirement, I don't know. It's very low. And with that minimum amount, he's trying to cover two hills of his region with a green. Now he has some some people who are being helping him out, but earlier he started 14 years back, I think he started his own. There are people in my society along with me. We are trying to grow neem along with this Taj highway, right? The people in different parts of India, not only government, we are trying to enhance this agenda 21. We are trying to incorporate agenda 21 at national level, at district level, state level, and panchayat raj level also. Now resource planning, look at this resource planning. Planning is the widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resource. So here what we have to do, we have to make use of resources in a very careful manner, so we should not waste it. You are being often called or asked by your teachers and parents when you are not using any appliance in particular room, or you are leaving that room, then switch off the fan, light, TV, computers, whatsoever you have kept on, right? It is very important in country like India, where the resource is very limited, and we have enormous diversity in availability of resource. There are regions which are rich in one type of resource, but they are poor in other type of resource. Like if you can look at this here, we have so many examples. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of availability of resource, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, they are rich in mineral and coal deposits. These altogether, they are coming into Chota Nagpur region. And Chota Nagpur region, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, parts of Odisha and parts of West Bengal too is a part of Chota Nagpur region, which is rich in iron ore, coal deposits, they are rich in limestone, right? And there are various other types of resources which are available in this area. Now we have to understand one thing, but do we have other type of resources available here? No, they lack. There is a shortage of water resource in this area. There is a limited amount of water resource in this area. Now look at the Arunachal Pradesh. It has abundance of water resource, but if you look at the whole infrastructure, it lacks in that. If you look at the Rajasthan, right, it's rich in, it's rich with wind and solar energy, right? But other type of resources that are missing. The cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from rest of the country. It has very rich cultural heritage, but it's very deficient in water resource. It's a cold desert. Ladakh is a cold desert. We all know that, right? It's a very dry one. But if you look at the cultural heritage, so you will see so many shrines over there, and they are all functionable throughout winter. They keep themselves busy and engaged in all religious activity. So culturally, it's rich. But if we compare with other resource, especially water, that is scarce. The calls for balanced resource planning. So why one is rich in mineral, one is rich in wind energy and solar energy, another one is rich in water energy, another one is rich in cultural aspect, right? So the resources are not well balanced, they are not placed equally placed. So what we have to do, we have to save in one reason to fulfill the requirement of other reason. That is very important, right? It has very rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water and infrastructure and some vital minerals. This call for a balanced resource planning. So how can we balance it? Can we think of supplying water to Ladakh by new methods or new technology? Yes, a small portion of Indus is being flowing from there. Some amount of water can be drained to the Ladakh, right? We all can visit Ladakh for its cultural heritage. We need to develop infrastructure of Arunachal Pradesh, which is already being done. It has started for all northeastern states. The road, railway, and other kind of economic development is being done by this present government, which was earlier neglected, right? The Rajasthan and Gujarat is growing day by day in their solar panels. They are installing windmills to harness wind energy. The minerals of Chota Nagpur region that is being supplied across India. We all are getting electricity from that resource only. The iron ore which we are using across India is coming from that part of India only. So that one area which is rich in one kind of resource and poor in another kind of, right, that the excess of resource would be transferred to the other part of India for its growth. And in this way, we can balance our resource. So, how resource planning in India is done, we will discuss in next video soon. By then, thank you.